Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pace Immigration, paceimmigration.com. Today, we're going to be talking about the startup visa. My name is Sean Barry. I'm moderating the webinar today. So before the guests come on, I'd just like to go over a few housekeeping notes. Being a webinar, you won't be able to turn your cameras and microphones on. However, we do want to hear from you if you do have questions. On the right side of your screen, you'll find the chat feature. You can go ahead and write messages in the chat feature. We'll pay attention to that. And if we see some messages that we can answer, we'll be sure to do that. We have three great guests for you today, and I'd like to bring on Vince Lalonde, the Director of Immigration from Pace Immigration, and he will be taking it from here. Vince.
Hi, Sean. Thanks very much, and thanks to everybody for joining us today. Really happy you could take the time to hear a little bit about what we're doing here at Pace with the Startup Visa Program and answer some of your questions, and that's really what today is all about, answering questions. I've done a few webinars on the Startup Visa Program. Usually it's just me talking, but today we really want to hear from you. And my good friend Etope has brought some questions for us. So, between the audience and Etope's questions, we hope to be able to dispel any myths or really clarify everyone's understanding of what this program is all about. But before we get to the questions, I just want to provide a little bit of background about the Startup Visa Program. First of all, usually when I'm talking about the Startup Visa Program, the first thing I mention is that it's not an investor program. In Canada right now, actually, we don't have a pure investor program. What we do have is we have a number of different entrepreneur programs. What's the difference between an entrepreneur program and an investor program? Well, in my mind, an investor program is more about making a passive investment, a direct economic contribution to some kind of a fund, maybe a government fund, and getting permanent residence that way. So we don't have that type of program in Canada right now. We used to. Canada actually invented investor immigration back in 1986. But right now, if you would like to come to Canada as a business person, you need to be willing to come to Canada and start a business here. So manage a business, hire Canadians, create a company, and you're still contributing to the Canadian economy, obviously, but it's through establishment of a business here in the country. So like I mentioned, there's a number of different entrepreneur type of entrepreneur immigration programs in Canada. But the one that we're going to be focusing on today is the Startup Visa Program. And I think the reason I like to talk about the Startup Visa Program is because there are a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings around the program. The Startup Visa Program is, like I said, it's not an investor program. It's a program for people who have an innovative business idea. Okay, so if you're the next Steve Jobs, or you have an idea to create a business that could be the next Uber, or could be a successful innovative business that's able to compete on a global scale, and you're willing to take your business idea and set up your business here in Canada as opposed to setting it up in the US or any other country, your home country, then Canada will give you permanent residence in order to allow you to come here and set up your innovative business. So the real question here is, what kinds of businesses is Canada looking for? What is an innovative business? So this isn't my decision. I'm not the one who's going to decide whether your business idea is sufficiently innovative. It's not Stefania's idea, and it's not even the immigration officer's decision. Actually, Canada, what we've done is we've farmed out the selection decision to the private sector. Okay, so it's going to be business incubators, angel investors, or venture capital funds who are going to look at your business idea and decide whether it's worthy of their support. There's a list of what we say designated organizations. So these are groups, like I said, angel investors, incubators, VC funds that have approval from the government to participate in this program. And they're the ones that are going to be deciding which businesses can come into Canada and which ones can't. Okay, so that's really the key to the program here, is securing the support of one of these designated groups. Okay, so once you have that support, they'll issue a special letter called a letter of support. And once we have that, then we can submit your application for permanent residence in Canada. So, like I said, the key to the program really is coming up with an innovative business idea that's sufficiently attractive to these designated groups, angel investors, business incubators, or venture capital funds. And if you can convince those guys to support your innovative business idea, then you can come to Canada as a permanent resident. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about the program for now, but you're going to be learning more about the program and the benefits and the requirements through the questions that we're answering today. So I'll hand the mic over to Etope, who can start with the questions that he has. I think he's gathered those questions from people in the community, mostly in Nigeria, and he'll be jumping in and asking us those questions.
Thank you very much, Vince, for that introduction. It's really been exciting to be able to have this webinar, because we know from here we've had a lot of some of our clients here in Nigeria that have been asking about the investors program and the startup program. So it's really good that we've been able to organize this for them here. For myself, for those who are just joining us, I'm Etope. I'm the managing partner of Beaver Group, where we offer private family office investments in real estate and securities in Canada. To start off with a question, we've narrowed down a lot of questions that we've been sent to just about 15 of them. We picked the ones that we thought were asked multiple times. So we thought, okay, those will be the ones that we would address. However, guys, please feel free to just keep on putting on some of your questions in the chat box, and we would address them as we can. So the first question that we have here is, Vince, what are the main advantages of applying to Canada, this Canada Startup Visa program, especially over some of the other residency application options that are available to applicants? Yeah,
that's a good question, because I did mention at the beginning that the Startup Visa program isn't the only option. There are about a dozen different entrepreneur type of programs that you can use to come to Canada, either as a permanent resident or also as a work permit holder. But there are distinct advantages to the Startup Visa program. One of them is simply that it's a direct application for permanent residence. Okay, some of the other programs that we have in Canada, you need to come over on a work permit first, okay, and then establish your business in Canada. Once your business is up and running here in Canada, then you're eligible for permanent residence. The Startup Visa program, you can apply directly for permanent residence. There is a work permit option, okay, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, but you apply directly to the federal government. That's another advantage. Some of the other programs are what we call provincial nominee programs. So first you have to get the approval or the acceptance from a specific province. Then once the province has accepted you, then you apply to the federal government for permanent residence. The Startup Visa program is basically, from an immigration perspective, it's really a one-step program. You're applying directly to the permanent residence. You don't need to go through one of the provinces. So that makes the process a lot, I guess, simpler, or a lot more straightforward. And it also, one of the other advantages to the program is it also improves the processing time, because really there's only one application here that needs to be made. The processing time for the Startup Visa program, unfortunately, has slowed down a little bit because of the pandemic, but that's unavoidable. I mean, that's affecting everybody and every type of application, not just the Startup Visa program applications. So the processing time has slowed down a little bit, but it is still fast compared to some of the other options out there, especially compared to the investor program or some of the old provincial nominee programs that we had before. So it's a much faster route to permanent residence. And one last advantage that I'd like to mention is that, if you are waiting too long, because, the processing time, Canada wants you to come here and set up an innovative business. Okay, usually with innovative businesses, there's some kind of tech involved. There might be a shelf life for the product. You don't want your competitors to get ahead of you. You want to start your business as soon as possible. Okay, if you'd like to come to Canada and start your business as soon as possible, then there is an option, a work permit option. Okay, so if you submit your permanent residence application, but you don't want to wait for your permanent residence, then you can come over on a work permit and get started on your innovative business while you're waiting for the work permit, for the permanent residence application to be approved. Okay, so those are just a few of the advantages. Maybe I'll mention one more. There are so many, but one more is that there's no minimum investment requirement for the program. It's the only of the entrepreneur programs that I've mentioned, that I'll be mentioning throughout the webinar today. Most of them have some kind of minimum investment. The Startup Visa program doesn't have a minimum investment requirement. Okay, so that makes it a little bit more flexible, a little bit more nimble, depending on what type of business. Even if you just have a startup that's in the very early stages and you don't need to make a huge investment, eventually, this could turn into a fantastic company, but you're really in the early stages. There's no minimum investment, so it's much more flexible in that regard.
Thank you. Now, if I have a business currently in my country, Nigeria, can that business be extended to Canada in that sense? So do I have to come up with a new business plan in entirety?
That's a really good question. Maybe I'll let Stefania jump in on that, because she's involved in that end of the process. Her group, PGA, are the ones who are going to be helping the clients come up and refine their idea so that it appeals to those designated organizations. So, Stefania, would you like to take a stab at that one?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us at this webinar. My name is Stefania Sabo, and I work for PACE Global Advantage, which is an affiliate to PACE Law Firm and PACE Immigration. And as Vince mentioned, we are the business end of this program that we are working together. You don't necessarily need to have a business, but it does help. What you need to have for this program is an innovative business idea that is competitive on a global scale and can create jobs in Canada. But in order to be successful in this program, you need to have a qualifying business. You don't need to have it right now. You can develop that business together. And that's what PACE Global Advantage is helping PACE Immigration clients who are interested in the Startup Visa program. So if you are employed, so you don't own a business, you can still apply, but you need to have an innovative business idea and you need to be involved in this program. It's not a passive program, as Vince mentioned, it's an active program. It needs your participation.
Thank you, Stefanie. So what if I don't have an innovative business idea? I've been thinking of a few, but what if I don't have one, but I would like to set up a business in Canada? What happens?
I think we all have innovative ideas. We might just know, might just not know about it. But so this is how we start our conversation. That you're interested in the Startup Visa program. You think that you have an idea, you are working at a field where you experienced an area which needs an improvement, and you have an idea how to do it. So it's a discussion between business analysts of PACE Global Advantage and the client themselves, and based on what the client would like to do and how would like to move forward, PACE Global Advantage provides the service of writing this innovative business plan and then apply to the designated organizations, which are either incubators, angel investors, or venture capital funds. And I think in the previous question, the second part of it was regarding the funds, that you have enough funds to apply. You need to have a proof of funds in order to qualify. So there are 4 requirements for this program. One is that you need to have a qualifying business. Then you need to have a letter of support, a commitment certificate from a designated organization. You need to pass an English language test. It's called the IELTS test on the Canadian language benchmark of 5, which is like a medium level English. And you need to have proof of funds. You need to prove to the Canadian government that if you are accepted and if you come over to Canada, you have enough funds to support yourselves in the first year. and it's really not high. So it's available on the Canada's website. It's around $13,000 for a personal one, and it's around $25,000 for a family of 4. And in the program, there can be 1 founders or up to 5 founders in this qualifying business. So you don't need to do it on your own. You have a business partner that you are working with, and you would like to apply together. It's possible for up to 5 people. I think you are on mute, Itope. Still, I think we lost the audio.
Itope, I think you need to unmute yourself.
Yep. No.
Oh, still on mute.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, good.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. So thank you, Stephanie. If my family, for my family members, does the startup program extend to my family members? So my wife, my kids, or even if you are my business partner and their family members as well?
Yeah,
Like
that's
one
good.
application.
Yeah, I'll jump on that one. That's an immigration question, and the rule applies to any category of permanent residence application, the same as it does to the startup visa program. Yes, you are permitted to bring your spouse and your dependent children to Canada with you. So your application for permanent residence includes those dependent family members, so children under 22 as well as your spouse. It doesn't include parents. Some programs you can bring your parents, but not Canada, although there is an option of sponsoring your parents for immigration once you're here and you're set up and you're generating income for yourself. Also, brothers and sisters, you can't include your brothers and sisters in your application, but if they choose to apply independently later on, then they can get additional points in their application if they have family members, brother, sister here in Canada. So it can actually, the fact that you're here can actually benefit brothers and sisters or parents later on if they choose to come to Canada or would like to immigrate later on. But for the immediate application, you're able to include, like I said, spouse and dependent children.
Okay, because you mentioned something about the business, like having a business partner. So, I mean, I know we've gotten some questions where a couple of people have said, oh, I want to go into business with my brother. So that's something that we're looking at. If you go into business with your brother, and on that business, your brother is your business partner, or your sibling, your sister is your business partner, would they be covered under the startup visa program?
Yeah, so that's a really good point, and that's one of the advantages to this program. I'll talk a little bit, and then maybe Stefania would like to add something as well. But yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, basically, with one innovative business, okay, we call it the qualifying business. Anybody who's involved in that business, so if you're doing business with your brother or with your friend or anybody else in your family, we have son and father. We have businesses like that. All those people can come in together under the umbrella of a single innovative business idea. So that's exceptional because the other programs that are out there, there's each applicant. Let's say, for example, the Ontario Entrepreneur Program, the PMP program here in Ontario. Each individual applicant would need to make the minimum investment themselves. So if you're outside of the GTA, the minimum investment is 200,000 Canadian dollars. Each person coming over, so each brother, they could do business together, but it's not really common with those programs, but it's possible. But it's not really there's no benefit because they still need to each individually invest $200,000. Under the startup visa program, it's one business for however many people in the family would like to participate. Obviously, there are separate fees for each of those people. Let's say for the immigration application, okay, but on the business side, it's a single business.
Okay, thank you, Vince. Now, if I had my spouse and my children live in Canada, and I would like to continue my business in Nigeria. So basically, I've set up this business in Canada. So Canada is an extension of the business that I operate in Nigeria, but I want to be in Nigeria to continue to run that business, right? And my spouse would be in Canada and my children will be there. How would that affect my residency status, and what do I do at that point in time?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that's a really common question, and there are a lot of people, not just in Nigeria, but in a lot of countries, who are in that position. The breadwinner of the family needs to be able to generate income and would like to be able to support the dependent family members while they are in Canada. And so there's definitely a risk if the entire family moves here, including the breadwinner, because they might not have a steady income, the same steady income that they have if they remain in their home country. There's a few options to consider in that situation. What we've seen a lot of clients do is a lot of businesses, both let's say the husband and the wife, would make a suitable principal applicant. So maybe if one of the, let's say, for example, the husband would like to remain in Nigeria and continue to work on the business there, but the wife, who's also an entrepreneur or has the potential to come up with an innovative business idea, would like to come to Canada and work on the business on the Canadian side, then that's one option. It's important to note that this is still an active investment program. It's still an entrepreneur program. Okay, so it's a program where you can't simply just make a passive investment and come to Canada, but there are a few different ways to make sure that the family is able to still survive if they're all coming to Canada. Another situation that we've seen a lot is that the Canadian business is actually an extension of the Nigerian business. So if you have a business in Nigeria that you think could, or some aspect of your business in Nigeria that could succeed in Canada, then as long as there's an innovative element to the Canadian part of the business, then it could be sort of a continuation of your Nigerian business. So in that case, maybe the principal applicant wants to spend some time in Nigeria, some time in Canada. That's acceptable as long as they can continue to manage the business and ensure that it's successful here in Canada. And I think that that gets back to what we were just talking about, the fact that you can have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people all involved in a single business idea. Everybody can play a different role in that business. If there's one of the partners or one of the founders needs to spend more time in Nigeria for the business, then that's acceptable. Just keep in mind that there are some requirements under Canadian law. All permanent residents need to spend 2 years in any 5-year period in Canada. There are some exceptions to that, but that's the general rule. So, you have to make sure that everybody is meeting that requirement. But, like I said, there is some flexibility. And of course, at the end of the day, keep in mind that, you're not going to have to, for this program, it's apply first and do business second. So, you're already going to be a permanent resident in most cases when you really get into, becoming actively involved in the business. If the business is, obviously everybody, including the designated organization supporting you, hopes that the business is going to be successful. But if something happens and, the business isn't the success that we envisioned, then, it's not going to impact your permanent residence. You can still keep your permanent residence, even if the Canadian business is unsuccessful. But, the last thing I just want to mention is that actually the innovative business ideas that the clients are coming up with are really fantastic ideas. And maybe right now, a lot of the clients are thinking, oh, I don't want to go to Canada to do business. I don't know anything about doing business in Canada. How will I ever survive? Well, actually, the innovative businesses that we're coming up with, or that we're working with the clients to create these business plans based on the client's innovative business idea, they're really, really fantastic ideas. And they're also getting the support of a designated organization. So, sometimes at the beginning of the process, the clients are not so interested in doing business in Canada, but, by the time the business plan is there and they can, they've provided their input and they've communicated with these designated organizations, a lot of clients change their mind and they decide, hey, this is a fantastic business opportunity for me in Canada. I would like to come here and at least give it a shot.
Thank you, Vince. You segued into my second question about what happens if my business goes if the business doesn't work out well as planned, if my business plan basically goes bust. So I mean, you've mentioned that the residency still stays, you still get your residency status, you don't get kicked out of Canada because your business failed. So I know that was a concern by a lot of our clients. Another question would be around the lines of this is a common one. I have a daughter or I have a son who is above the age of 22, and I have two other kids who are below the age of 21. What happens to the other two kids, and while I'm applying for this program?
Yeah, that's a good question. If your kids are over, so basically, as I mentioned, if you would like to bring your children with you as dependents, they need to be under 22. If your children are older than 22, then there are some options, and I kind of touched on those a little bit before. I have clients who are, their kids are in their 20s or even early to mid 30s, and those children are involved in the parents' business. Okay, so if you're doing business with your mother or father, and you would like to be a part of the innovative business that's going to be created in Canada, then that's an option for you to also come over and be a participant in that business here in Canada. So, like I said, we do have some father-son teams who have come in under the Startup Visa program. It's definitely an option. Another thing that I mentioned before is that actually Canada really likes skilled workers. Most of the immigrants coming to Canada right now are skills-based immigrants. So they're immigrating to Canada based on their education, their language ability, their age. Okay, so if you have children who are, let's say, late 20s, early 30s, have a good education, and have good language ability, then those children might be able to immigrate individually or separately from your application as a skilled worker under the express entry stream. And the fact that that person has family members in Canada, that will definitely help or benefit their application under the express entry category as well. So I think that there are a few different ways that we can get the children over here. I think the fact that the parents come over first as an anchor for creating this business, it definitely opens up some doors.
And when you look at the programs that have been, some of the innovative businesses that have been accepted, can you give example of some of the business ideas that have been accepted in the recent time?
Sure, yeah. I'll let Stefania jump in on this. She's the one who's really working on those business ideas with the clients.
Successful business ideas are usually tech-related businesses, but not necessarily. You can have a traditional business that you are running and gain experience over the last decade or so, and we can support you coming up in an innovative angle to that business and get the support of a designated organization. So what was successful, we had a successful chicken farm application with a tech input. We had construction applications that we actually developed an app for construction. We developed long-term learning app for a client. She's a medical doctor and believes in learning forever. So we have limited time in our days, but whenever we are driving or commuting, have time to listen to short, brief presentations, and we helped her achieve that. So it's all over the place. I couldn't put it into one basket, but definitely technology, if technology is involved, then you have a much better chance of getting this level of support from a designated organization.
Thank you, Stefania. Vince, can you take us through the process of application, basically from start to finish, how to apply, where you start from, the wait time period, and what's the average time, turnaround time for the whole process?
Okay, so like I mentioned at the beginning, yeah, that's a really good question. You're right. That's a really common question that a lot of clients have. So I'll talk about the immigration side, but there is, like I said, there's kind of two parts to the process. The first part of the process is going to be, creating and coming up with an innovative business idea, creating the business plan, and getting the letter of support from a designated organization. That's really the first part of the process. I'll let Stefania talk a little bit about that. As an immigration lawyer, our work usually starts once the clients have already secured that support, that letter of support, that commitment from a designated organization. So for us, once we have that letter of support, then we prepare the immigration application. The immigration application is not too different from other Canadian immigration applications. We need to prove that you meet all the requirements of the program. As Stefania mentioned those at the beginning, you need to prove that you meet the language requirement, that you have enough funds to support yourself when you get here. You have to prove that you have a qualifying business, and obviously there are the same types of documents that we provide with every application: birth certificates, marriage certificates, application forms. So that'll take some time to prepare that, to put that together. But once we've prepared the immigration application, it's submitted. Right now, the processing times are a little bit unpredictable because of COVID. Some applications are going much faster, maybe 12 to 16 months, while some are taking a little bit longer, maybe over 2 years. But like I said, it's a direct application to the federal government of Canada for permanent residence. And there is that option. So what we can do is when we submit that permanent residence application, we can submit an application for a work permit at the same time. And the application for the work permit would allow you to come to Canada with your family much sooner and start to set up your business ahead of time while you're waiting for your permanent residence to be issued. And the application for work permit right now also a little bit slower. It could be a few weeks, it could be a few months, but definitely faster than the permanent residence application. So there is that option. Once your application is approved, you've done your medical examinations, then you would be permitted to enter Canada as a permanent resident. Once you're here, then you can get your permanent residence card. We call it a maple leaf card. It's similar to a U.S. green card. And that's your proof of permanent residence that you would use when entering or exiting Canada. And that card is valid for 5 years. Okay, and then if you would like to, and you're here for 3 years in any 5-year period, then you would be eligible to apply for citizenship. Okay, so Canadian citizenship, like I said, the most important requirement is that you have been in Canada for 3 years in any 5-year period. All permanent resident, your permanent resident status is separate from that of your spouse and your children. So if let's say one of the applicants has to spend a lot of time back in Nigeria and isn't able to, principal applicant, let's say, is not able to meet that 2 years and 5 years requirement to maintain the permanent residence, then, and subsequently, unfortunately, loses permanent residence, that would not impact the permanent resident status of his or her family members.
Thank you, Vince. I was going to ask now that how does owning assets in real estate and mutual funds, other investments in Canada, how does that aid or how does that aid my residency application in Canada?
The simple answer is it doesn't. There could be some, I guess, residual benefit. There is that requirement to prove that you have sufficient assets to support yourself for the first year. If you have some assets in Canada, then that might be easier to prove your assets if those are in Canada. But really, this is, like I said, this is a program for innovative entrepreneurs, people with innovative business ideas. And that's really the focus of the program. So if you have assets in Canada, of course, you're welcome to come to Canada, and Canada is relatively accepting of foreign investors who would like to purchase assets here in Canada, but there isn't any direct benefit for the permanent residence application.
Thank you. Now, a lot of people have heard about these other investment programs in other countries in North America, where family residency can be obtained in basically less than 30 to 60 days. Can you briefly shed more light on some of these other programs, very briefly, that are available to families?
Yeah, sure. That's a really good question, and sometimes, and because I mean, I've been talking a little bit about the startup visa program. It's a great program, but it's really for people who want to come to Canada and do business here, come up with an innovative business idea. So it's not for everybody. And there are other obstacles. For example, the English language requirement. Once you're a permanent resident, that requirement to remain in Canada for at least 2 years in any 5-year period. Those are obstacles or barriers for some people. So I think it's important for our listeners today to understand that there are other options out there. There are other programs available that are a lot less stringent in certain aspects. For example, we are able to help clients apply for a Caribbean citizenship. There are a number of countries in the Eastern Caribbean Sea, including Antigua, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, that offer citizenship by investment. So if you would like to make either a contribution to the government or purchase real estate in one of those countries, then you're able to qualify for citizenship immediately. Canada, like I said, you have to first become a permanent resident, spend 3 years in Canada as a permanent resident before you're eligible for citizenship. For those countries, you're applying for citizenship directly. The processing time, like you said, it's a matter of months, not a matter of years. So very quickly, you can become a citizen of one of those countries. A lot of people think, why would I want to be a citizen of Antigua? Actually, if you've been to Antigua, then maybe you have a better understanding of why you would want to be a citizen of Antigua. It's a beautiful country. But there's also the advantage of having that Antiguan passport, because it is a very good passport. There are over 140 countries in the world that you can travel to visa-free with an Antiguan passport. The other countries are similar numbers, St. Kitts, Dominica, Grenada. Okay, so they're really, really good passports. They allow you to travel freely, no visa requirement for the EU, for example, for the Schengen countries. So anywhere in Europe, you can travel there visa-free. So that's another option. There are other options. I mean, citizenship by investment or residency by investment programs, the list of programs is growing every year. So there are a number of what we call golden visa programs in Europe. You can get your permanent residence in Portugal, Spain, Greece, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan. I mean, there's a whole host of countries around the globe that have citizenship or residency by investment programs. Every program is a little bit different. Every program has advantages or disadvantages. For example, if you're talking about wealth management or kind of minimizing your tax burden, then coming to Canada might not be the best option. But there are other options out there that maybe are a little bit better than Canada from a wealth management or a tax perspective. And last but not least, I should probably mention that we have a U.S. immigration practice here at the firm, and there are a number of options and a growing list of options actually to gain a green card in the United States by making some kind of investment in a business there as well. So a lot of options around the world. If you're not sure, a lot of people come to us and they want to hear about Canada, but sometimes if we explain the Canadian program, it just doesn't work for them. That's okay. There are other options out there available, and we're happy to discuss those options with the clients as well. Oh, I'm sorry. I think you muted yourself again, Tope.
Those are the questions that.
I think we're through the questions, right? I think we're pretty much through Etope's questions. Maybe we can get to some questions. We have a few minutes here. We can start to get to the questions from the audience.
I actually was planning on starting that as well. There are a few questions which address how much the startup visa program costs. So I thought maybe I jump on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, great.
So different designated organizations have different fee structures. So it really depends on which designated organization is going to support your business idea. If it's an incubator, they are going to incubate and mentor you for a certain period of time, anywhere from 6 months to 18 months. It again depends on which incubator is going to accept you. And the fee is usually somewhere between $30,000 to $6,000 for this whole period that you need to pay on a monthly basis. And for that, you get, the commitment certificate. Basically, the organization is vouching for you, is standing behind your business idea, and they are going to submit this commitment certificate to Immigration and Refugees Canada, and then this immigration can start your immigration permanent residence process. And there are also a lot of questions regarding the work permit. I think Vince touched base on this during his Q&A, but it kept on coming up. Can I come on a work permit? I want to come now. Is it better? So since this is a startup visa program, and the startup world is basically changing on a daily basis. If a designated organization feels there's enough potential of your innovative business, issues this letter of support, and the government officer who is looking after your case, once it's submitted for permanent residency, is going to look at, did you actually work on this innovative business idea? And in order for you to work on it with the incubator, you may want to come over because you are going to set up a company here in Canada. That's actually part of the process. So once you are accepted by a designated organization, you need to set up a Canadian company within 90 days. We are going to help you with that as well. And then this company needs to show that you are actually working on this innovative idea with the designated organization. And in order to do that, maybe it's helpful if you have a work permit and you come over here. Given the pandemic, you can try to prove that you're working on it remotely, as we all are working remotely sometimes. So it really depends. We feel it supports your application if you have a work permit and you come over and work on it. As soon as you get a letter of support, Vince and Pace Immigration can apply for a work permit on your behalf. And as Vince said, it can take a matter of weeks or maybe months to get this work permit, and then you come over and start to work on this business. Vince?
Yeah, I think that's a really good summary. It's it really, I think a lot of the designated organizations prefer if the clients come over on the work permit first, because they're they understand the processing times are a little bit longer than they used to be, and they've agreed to support your innovative business. They're excited to get going on this. They want to see this business become successful. So sometimes they don't want to wait 2 years for you to come over as a permanent resident. They would like you to come over as soon as possible and get started on your business. And I know it's a personal decision for a lot of clients as well. There's a personal aspect as well. They have to decide what to do with their current business or with their assets, or maybe their children are in school in Nigeria and they need to pull their children out of school, bring them to Canada if they plan on coming here. So there's a lot of factors. But yeah, I mean, if you can come over and get started on your business as soon as possible, I think it can be very beneficial, not just from the immigration application perspective, but also for you personally. I mean, we're talking about technology a lot of the time. These technologies sometimes have a shelf life. There's potential for competitors coming along and stealing or not stealing, but coming up with the same idea and moving in on your, the client base that you hope to tap into. So yeah, it makes sense to come over on a work permit and get started on the business as soon as possible. But really, like I said, there's lots of factors here, and but we do definitely see a trend of more and more clients coming in on the work permit.
There's another question regarding how long the process takes, and I think you touched base on the immigration part of it. In terms of getting the letter of support, which basically starts your immigration process, can take anywhere from 3 to 12 months. So the first time we meet via Zoom, we get your CV, we understand your business background, we understand what you would like to achieve. PACE Global Advantages business analysts are going to write the business plan, and then they are going to present it to you. And if you agree, then we start submitting this business plan to designated organizations. And it really, after this point, it's really up to the designated organizations' processes. Some work in cohorts, so there are certain dates that we need to apply to their program, and others accept applications continuously. So it's not up to us. We are following their procedures, and that's why it may take up to 1 year to get, or how long, but that, as per our experience, the fastest one was 3 months, and the longest it took for us was 12 months for you to get the letter of support.
Vince, I got cut off for a bit there. I don't know, did you address the question on cost? Because average cost of what the whole package would be.
Yeah, Stefania touched on that. Talked about the cost on the incubators that each have their different fee structure. But yeah, we did touch on that. Probably for more detail, like a lot of the cost is a little bit hard to pin down exactly. It's going to be a little bit different for everybody. There's a lot of factors, how many people are coming over in your group, whether you'd like to come over on a work permit. If you're coming on a work permit, then obviously there's additional fees involved with that work permit application. So there's a lot, how many people in your family. There's a lot of different factors. But yeah, if you'd like to get more details about that, then definitely email us, and we can give you a more accurate picture of what the cost will be based on your specific circumstances.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize this, that based on where your business is, the fee structure of PACE Global Advantage and PACE Immigration can vary from applicants to applicants. So it's not a standard fee. It depends on how much work, how much research PGA needs to do in order to write the business plan, how many applicants there are, etc., etc. There is a question in the chat bar, what is the minimum investment? There is no minimum investment in this program. This is not an investment program. This is an entrepreneur program which needs your active collaboration. So you need to invest your knowledge, your time in this program. Once you're accepted, let's say by an incubator, you are going to work with a mentor 3-4 hours a month who is going to support you in developing this business idea. So it's not an investment program, but an active entrepreneur program.
One caveat to that, I'll just add, because we mentioned at the beginning, there are 3 types of organizations that can support your application. There are venture capital funds, angel investors, and business incubators. If you are getting your letter of support, if you're able to get your letter of support from a venture capital fund, then the venture capital fund itself needs to invest at least 200,000 Canadian dollars into your business. If you're getting a letter of support from an angel investor, then the angel investor needs to invest at least 75,000 Canadian dollars into your business. There's no minimum investment for business incubators. They're giving you access to their network and their infrastructure. So they don't have to invest any money into your business. But those other groups, there is an investment component, but the investment is not from you, the applicant. Obviously, you're setting up a business here in Canada. There are going to be some costs associated with that, definitely. But in terms of a minimum investment amount set by the government, the only minimum investment amounts that are set by the government are requirements for angel investors or venture capital funds who might be providing a letter of support to you.
There's another question in the chat box. If I have a company already in my country, how can I act? I think the best way would be to send us an email, either Vince or myself. It's listed in the chat box. And you may only need an updated business plan, and then we can start applying on your behalf to designated organizations. It's really important that we have an honest and open conversation about your business, what you would like to do, what are your goals, why you want to come to Canada. Because at the end of the day, this is your life, this is your future in Canada. So we would like to support whatever you'd like to achieve here. But in the procedure for work permit, I think Vince already touched base on that. And there's a question, someone, if he understands or she correctly, that you don't need a work permit to come to Canada first before PR. You don't need to. You can do it remotely. But as we said, we feel it supports your application. If you apply for a work permit, you come over here and start working on your business.
Yeah, thanks, Eva. I just wanted to also add one thing. If you have a business already in your home country, even if it's a fantastic, innovative business idea and it's very successful in your home country, it might still not be appealing to the designated organizations here in Canada. So I think that's where we come in. We're able to advise you in that regard. Our Stefania's group, PGA, is able to provide you with some input and some understanding of what the groups here in Canada are looking for and how to package and kind of present your idea to those groups, what to emphasize and which aspects of the business are going to be most appealing to those groups. Because really, there's sometimes a little bit of a disconnect between the applicants in their home country and their business that they're currently running and what the incubators or the angel investors or the VC funds here in Canada are looking for. And what PGA does is they act as kind of a bridge between you and your business and your idea in your home country and the groups here that are looking to potentially support your idea.
There's also a question, can I open restaurant kind of business on the startup visa program?
Yeah.
That's not an innovative business unless you come up with an innovative angle of that certain business. For example, when this whole pandemic started, we didn't know how this virus acts, how the virus spreads. So we disinfected everything. We were not sure if it's airborne or droplets infection. So there was actually a company here in Canada who invented the boxes. So whenever you went to the restaurant, you didn't meet with anyone. You had a designated box where you, without touching anything, you just opened that box just opened for you, and you could take away your food that you ordered. So it can be any innovative angle, even to a traditional business. And at the end of the day, you can buy that restaurant you want to run, but it definitely has to have some innovative, tech-related angle to that business.
Yeah, and that's not to say that there aren't options for, if you would like to establish what maybe you could characterize as a traditional business like a restaurant. There are other options for you to come to Canada. As I mentioned at the very beginning, we have maybe 12 different entrepreneur type programs to choose from, and most of those are suitable for someone who would like to establish a traditional type of business. So if you want to come to Canada and set up a restaurant, we're more than happy to help you with that. And there are paths that could lead to permanent residence for you and your family through that type of business as well.
And the questions regarding the fees keep on coming on the chat box. So I would really encourage everyone to shoot an email to either Vince or me or both of us, and we can discuss privately what business you were thinking about, what business you already have. It really depends on how much work It's going to be on PGH side, and then PACE immigration is a different and a separate procedure with a separate fee structure, depending on how many family members you have, how many are applying for the startup visa program. So please reach out to us via our emails. Sean put it in the chat box. Please check. Thank you.
Stefani, I was going to ask you to just say something a bit more on the side of the investments coming in from the incubators and the angel investors, so that the listeners know that yes, you get, once your business idea is accepted and you're running with this, you're actually going to be getting investors coming into your business to actually help to grow the business in that sense.
So, as Vince just mentioned previously, the incubators do not invest in our business. It's the angel investors and the venture capital funds. That's the requirement of the government of Canada. That's how they measure how serious they are about this business. If an angel investor group, who are usually investors, they invest $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 in companies, but like 20, maybe 30 investors are coming together, and they put down the $75,000 in your business, and that's your company's money. So if you have a good enough business idea or an operating business, that money goes on your company's bank account, and then you can use it to develop that business. Same with the venture capital funds. So once again, the incubators don't invest. You pay a fee for the incubators to help you develop your business ideas, and the angel investors and venture capital funds, they do invest. They do need to invest.
There are a lot of groups in Canada that like to invest. If you have a really good business idea, and the requirement, the 200,000 to 75,000, that's not the maximum. That's the minimum. Okay, so that's what's required for under the program, the Startup Visa Immigration Program. But of course, if you have a really good business idea and you're able to come to Canada and start that business, and people see that there's a lot of potential, then of course there's always the possibility of garnering investment from other sources. Like I said, we're going to be working with an incubator or angel investor, a VC fund. These groups, they have access to a lot of resources. They have connections all across the country and around the world. And if there are other investors who see potential, then of course they're free to invest in your business. So really the sky is the limit. The numbers that we were giving you were really just the minimum amount, but definitely not the maximum, depending on your idea. I mean, there have been some really fantastic ideas and businesses that have been created through the Startup Visa Program in Canada, and those businesses have gone on to become very successful, growing, and thanks definitely to the investors who are coming in from other places and investing in those businesses. So really, it really depends on your business and the potential, but yeah, the sky is the limit.
Always.
Okay, so I think we're kind of reaching the end of our time. Are there maybe one more question before we go? I don't know, did you have another question, Etope, or was there another question in the chat that maybe we wanted to get to before we wrap things up?
I answered quite a few questions privately.
That was my last question.
And I once again would like to encourage everyone to reach out to us. And I hope you found this webinar informative and the program appealing to you. So we are looking forward to hearing from you guys.
Yeah, all our contact information is there. So if you'd like to, if we didn't get to your question, we're really sorry. We tried to get to as many as we could, and we hope that we provided you with some insight into the program. But of course, please, if you have other questions that we didn't get around to answering, or more specific questions based on your particular circumstances, we're more than happy to answer those questions. Just shoot us an email and we'll do our best.